So a lot of chicks get access to his bat cave.
Or his Batawang, as you once tested me.
Batman knows how to sling that thing, his Batawang.
Welcome to the Tairimo Boys podcast. I'm your host Cody. With me in second chair is the man who's met the Caped Crusader himself. It's Jeremy.
What's up, everybody?
With me in third chair is the man who finds random homeless people and throws batarangs at them. It's Ryan.
What's going on?
If you can't tell by the intro, along with the title of the video, today we're going to have a very Batman episode of the Tairimo Boys with the 1993 Batman the Animated Series movie, The Mask of Phantasm. The reason we're reviewing this is because it's the 30-year anniversary of this movie coming out. Don't we all feel like old men now?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's hitting deep.
So they're getting ready to release it on HD. So we took a non-HD version, watched it, and reviewed it for everyone. So you know whether you should watch it or not, and how Tairimo Boys certified fun it is. All right.
So strap into your Batmobiles.
Strap into your Batmobiles, your Batwings. Don't strap into your Bat motorcycles because you're ready to throw them into a giant jet turbine fan. And let's get going. All right, Jeremy, what were your first thoughts on this movie?
My first thoughts is, how have I not seen this movie? I've always enjoyed the Batman animated series, and I was kicking myself thinking, why haven't I seen it? Why haven't I seen it? Well, it turns out I have seen it, and I will go into that a little bit further.
You probably just don't remember it that well.
That's exactly what it was.
Did you at least see the Mr. Freeze one?
That one I vaguely remember.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadow. I remember more of that one than I did of this one. There was one scene that really brought it to my attention. I was like, oh, shit, I have seen this movie. But we'll get into that later.
Yep. Ryan, what were your first thoughts?
Loved it. Wished I had gone to see it in a theater when it came out. I just waited till it was on home video. But yeah, I love this movie. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
We're glad we could be here for you. Cody, your first thoughts?
I'm kind of in the same ballpark as Ryan. Now, as a kid, I always enjoyed the animated series, the animated series.
The series of series?
Yeah, the superhero animated series. So for anyone who doesn't know, in the 90s we had Batman the Animated Series, we had Superman the Animated Series, and those eventually got spun off into the Justice League Animated Series. And then that got turned into Justice League Unlimited, and then I think there was another Justice League that came afterwards. When you think animated Batman, it all like branches back to the 90s animated series.
Wonderful series.
Now, I really haven't gotten to my first thoughts, but was this movie good? Yes, it was. You got to kind of think of it more of it. It felt like three episodes of the animated series stitched together into one. I remember as a kid watching this movie. It would have been aired on TV because I don't remember watching it on VHS, and I certainly didn't watch in theaters. Very first movie I watched in theaters was Babe, the movie about the talking pig, while the first Mortal Kombat movie was playing in the room next to me. But I'll talk more about that story in our next week's review.
I'm excited to hear this.
This movie, if it, like I said, it feels like three episodes of the anime series stitched together. It does a lot of good stuff, but at the end of the day, I kind of felt like it fell a little bit short. If you're kind of wanting something more action packed, but whenever I say fell short, it's not like fall short like, oh, I'm left disappointed. I'm left, hey, this is a good movie. Had some minor problems, but whatever.
Well said.
So let's get into the movie. First thing I want to mention with this is the runtime on this. It's an hour and 15 minutes. So it's not like most crap nowadays you have to go through where you're going to have to do a 2-3 hour commitment.
3 hours as of late for most movies.
So if you're wanting something superhero full, if that's even a word, and you need to keep it short, then this certainly is the movie for you. Now, I do want to say before we get started, cartoons have changed since the 90s. I don't know if you guys caught it in this movie, but there were guns, There was blood, and there was people smoking.
And adult humor.
Yeah.
A lot.
Some secret screwing. But yeah, nowadays, no blood, no smoking, and definitely no guns. Elmer Fudd can't even have his gun nowadays, and they cut Elmira out of Tiny Toons because you can't have animal cruelty nowadays.
They cut out Elmira?
Yeah,
I was just thinking about Tiny Toons the other day.
yo, they're rebooting it. Elmira's gone.
What a world we live
Ouch.
in.
Then again, they couldn't put Pepe Le Pew in there either. So this movie starts off opening scene. It's Batman. He's chasing some mobsters. Right away, we're introduced to the guns. Like as soon as Batman appears, they pull the pieces out and start firing at him. And it's not like lazy laser guns like some shows will do, like GI Joe. They're like full guns. Like Batman's like darting under the table, and they're shooting at him, and you're seeing the bullet holes just pop through the wooden table. It's like one of those long meeting tables.
Back when a cartoon could be a cartoon.
And it's like that. This movie, like visually, it looks amazing. It's not like the flash crap they use nowadays. It's sloppy hand. No, I'm not gonna say sloppy. It's hand drawn art. The reason I'm saying sloppy is because back then when they did hand drawn art and the stills and stuff, like you can see like the mistakes, ink splotches, and there's a few times I caught stuff like that in the movie. But unless you got like a keen eye, you're not going to notice that stuff. But it just looks amazing. It's worth noting too that if you're not familiar with the Batman the Animated Series, it basically comes in two parts. You have the first one with the original art style, and then the second part, which is I think it was called The New Adventures of Batman and Robin or something. But they completely changed the art style for the animated series. And this movie, it falls in the former.
My personal favorite.
Ryan, do you know what the correct terminology is?
For
Like the later animated series after they changed the art style?
oh no, but it'll probably come to me because I watched a few interviews with Bruce Timm, who did that series, and he talks about it, but I can't remember the style of it. It'll come to me.
Did he say why they changed it?
I think he just got a little tired of drawing the same designs and wanted to change it up and simplify it a little bit more. That was pretty much it.
Makes sense. I thought it would have been like a budget cut.
Yeah.
But, anyways, back to the movie. Batman's chasing these mobsters. He's going after the main one. Main one kind of gets away a bit, runs to a parking garage, and as soon as he gets to the parking garage, that's when we meet our main villain of the movie, Phantasm, who's like this Grim Reaper looking character. And Phantasm lets him know right away, like, hey, you're fucking dead meat. But guy tries getting away. Phantasm's like jumping on a car, beating on the windows. He's got like I don't know if you call it a hook hand, but he's got like
A really good can opener.
yeah, there you go. Can opener like type weapon. Kind of a bladed fist type thing. Just I love the visuals of this movie. When he jumps on the hood of the car while it's moving and just busts his hand through the windshield, and you can see the mobster's face just getting all bloody from the scratches. And you just don't see that stuff in cartoons nowadays.
Nope, can't have it.
But eventually Batman comes, and just then, like I said, they're in a parking garage kind of high up. He ends up going full speed trying to hit Phantasm and smashes through the concrete barrier and goes flying into another skyscraper, which kills him off screen. And people kind of notice, like, hey, Batman's standing over the scene of the crime, so maybe Batman's doing something. So it's kind of setting the stage of maybe Batman's gained some balls and started killing these people,
Yeah, what a pussy, Batman. Finally grown some balls.
which I'm probably going to start talking. I'm definitely going to be talking about here in a little bit the whole killing villains thing. Whenever we reviewed Superman versus the Elite, that's one of the big things in the story for that is how effective killing villains is. But here, Batman's not killing villains. He's doing his usual Batman thing. But he's starting to take the blame for it. So we move on. We go. see some Bruce stuff. Bruce, everyone knows he's a playboy. That's kind of what billionaires do. Just kind of live it up. I've been thinking Bruce Wayne's life has to be like his normal life has to be like really shitty because he's up all night being Batman, and then he's expected to do all this stuff during the day. So the guy's got to get like no sleep.
Yes, he has a very, very full schedule. That's what it takes to be a billionaire.
But the perk of that is you got women throwing yourselves at him. So the big part of this is he's at this party. He's got all these girls throwing themselves at him, trying to date him and shit. Now, if you don't know, in the comics and other media, he's constantly fucking Catwoman. If you've seen the animated Killing Joke movie, they added this whole plotline where he's fucking Batgirl. So a lot of chicks get access to his Batcave.
Or his Batawang, as you once texted me.
Batman knows how to sling that thing, his Batawang.
Now, the reason I'm bringing up all this Playboy stuff is we end up going into this brand new character's like story with Bruce, and that's where we kind of enter the next section of the movie. This movie immediately goes into Bruce's early days as Batman, before he was even Batman. Like when he was fighting crime, which is something that we occasionally see, but I think this movie did it probably the best because you see Bruce, he's swinging around trying to get the whole grappling thing. Well, he's just like wearing like burglars outfits. He comes across these guys robbing, I guess it's a warehouse, and we see him. Jumps down, starts trying to fight him. They're like landing blows against him. One of the things I noticed too is at one point he's got like a early utility belt, and he pulls out some like shurikens and throws it at the guys. People forget, one, shurikens are deadly, and two, batarangs are essentially shurikens.
Yeah, they don't just bounce off people's heads. It's going to do some damage.
There's another animated movie, I think it's The Dark Knight Returns, where Batman's been gone for years, suddenly returns, but the big thing at the end of the movies is a huge fight with the Joker, and during the entire fight, the Joker's got like a batarang lodged in his eye.
Forgot about that.
So yeah, batarangs, deadly weapons. They're not just some little joke. No killing rule.
That's your PSA for today, kid. Don't throw your batarangs in somebody's eye.
But the important thing with the early Batman stuff is we're introduced to a new character. Her name is Andrea Belmont.
Belmont?
Whatever. You know I'm bad with names.
This isn't Castlevania, Cody.
But she's kind of being introduced as like a love interest of Bruce's. He's in the early days trying to get off his feet with Batman, and then she comes in the picture. So his early days as Batman, he kind of had to choose between, do I want to stay with Andrea or do I want to pursue this lonely crime fighter life where I fuck Catwoman or Talia or whoever the flavor of the month is. That part isn't in the movie, but eventually you get to that point. Now, Jeremy, what do you think of Andrea's character?
She looked like Daphne from Scooby-Doo.
Now that you say that, you're right.
I couldn't get over it, so that's all that was on my mind.
It's got Daphne for brains.
She get high with Fred in the van.
She didn't stick around long enough to get in the Batmobile. What about you, Ryan? What were your thoughts on her?
Good character, complex, has flaws, but also strong, which is nice. That's how it's done, kids.
That's how it's done, Hollywood writers.
That's how you do a female character.
Yeah, so the big struggle with her is her father is indebted to the mob.
The rip-off Falcones.
Yeah, they couldn't be killing the Falcones off. They had to use this rip-off mob. But yeah, her dad's indebted to them, and she's having to deal with trying to live a normal life with Bruce and dealing with all these mobsters. And that's kind of like the duality of their whole character arc between her and Bruce. Is they both got like a side life that they're having to deal with. Like at one point they go to this Gotham of the Future theme park, and it's just supposed to be a wholesome day between them. And then at one point in time they see like the automobile of the future, which if you saw in the background right away you might notice like, hey, that's the fucking Batmobile. But as soon as Bruce sees that, he like runs over to it, he's like, "Whoa, that looks awesome." Like he's intent. Yeah, I'm supposed to be on this date here, but hey, this would be a good crime fighting vehicle. So it's just it's clever writing like that. But moving on, aside from the flashbacks, another crime boss ends up getting killed at, we'll just call it the graveyard because we're mentioning a little bit more. The graveyard where Andrea and Bruce first met, where Andrea's mom is buried and Bruce's parents are buried. Crime boss goes and visits the grave of the other crime boss that drove out of the parking garage and got killed. That's when Phantasm attacks him, ends up pushing a giant statue off on him and kills him. Then Batman, of course, comes, starts investigating. Andrea is there talking with her mom, the ghost of her mom, I guess. Yeah.
Which is also weird because she states that sometimes her mother speaks back to her. Let's just say she's batshit crazy.
That's a red flag, Bruce.
Ryan, Bruce is sticking his dick in Catwoman Talia al Ghul. I think red flags are his type.
He's attracted to them.
They say don't stick your dick in crazy, but when you got billions of dollars, it doesn't matter. Just look at Elon Musk. Anyways, the reason I mentioned this in this scene is that Batman shows up, starts investigating the crime scene, finds some more of this chemical smoke that Phantasm's using, and sees like Andrea at the grave. Now, it's probably also worth mentioning that Andrea and Bruce, they kind of broke up back in the day and they went their separate ways. Bruce kind of sees her in the graveyard and runs off immediately, and it pretty much blows his secret identity because he's standing in front of his parents' grave, sees her at her mom's grave, and she figures out right away. He's like, "Oh, that's fucking Bruce in the Batman costume." So smooth move right there. We got two crime bosses dead. So this whole crime family, of course, it's got like a godfather, patriarch figure. Guy's an old man. He's scared like shitless that like all the members of his little gang are turning up dead. And that just goes to show you how effective killing is. When the worst punishment you'll face is getting thrown in Arkham Asylum so you can escape in a month, crime just kind of continues going as normal.
But when you kill them, they can't go to Arkham Asylum.
So he's scared shitless, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go get the help of someone. Who does he go to? Well, he goes to the Joker. You know, the most sane person to go to.
Who doesn't love Mark Hamill's Joker?
Yep, kids. If you're unaware, Mark Hamill, he's the famous Joker voice. He was the
Also Luke
Joker.
Skywalker.
Yeah, he's Luke Skywalker. Kind of got typecasted in that. Couldn't find much work afterwards. You mostly know him as just the Joker or Luke Skywalker. Yeah, crime boss goes to him. Like, I need some help for old time's sake, type deal. And we basically figure out. Hold on, let me pause right here. Whenever we're seeing flashbacks of Andrea, her father, and like all these crime guys, there's like this silent enforcer type mobster with them that's kind of just being an asshole and getting doing like all the dirty work. And whenever Batman ends up finding like a picture like all these people together, he looks closely at this like, why does this guy in the background, this enforcer guy, look familiar? Draws a fucking like smile on him. It's like, this guy's a fucking Joker. So we get some backstory of the Joker where he was like this mobster guy before he got thrown into the chemical vat. But even then, they didn't give him a name or anything. They usually tend to leave the Joker kind of ambiguous when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's why they give him so many different backgrounds.
But anyways, Joker. Actually, let me pause here for a second. I forgot to mention something really important. Like I said, during the first mobster's death, Batman starts taking the blame for this. Another mobster dies, same thing. So the police have turned against Batman. It's like, yeah, he's starting to kill people. We need to take him down now. As soon as like the main crime boss goes to the Joker, Joker's like, and tells him like, hey, Batman's going after us, which means eventually he's going to come after you. And the Joker's like, yeah, I don't think the Batman would be doing that. Like, I know him a little too well. We get another scene with Phantasm, Plan is to go and kill the main crime boss. Goes to his house, like, rips out the newspapers reading, finds out the Joker had killed the main crime boss himself, and he's rigged with a camera and a speaker. Joker's like, "Hey, I knew the Bats wasn't going around killing people. We got this new Grim Reaper character going around. So have fun, cause you're about to have a time of a life." It ends up blowing the whole place up, but Phantasm ends up escaping.
Great scene. I love how destructive Mark Hamill's Joker is.
And that's the big thing on the Joker. He's supposed to be a loose cannon. You don't know what one day when he's just gonna pickpocket someone, and or the next when he's gonna commit a genocide.
Or beat somebody to death with a crowbar. You just never know with this guy.
So what ends up happening is Batman starts going and investigating Andreas, and she's back in town. Joker ends up trying to bomb him, and because he's kind of figured out through the city council member who's also involved in this organized gang crime stuff that hey, it's looking like Phantasm's connected with Andreas somehow. Tries bombing him, and then that's when the police show up to arrest Batman. So we get this like whole escape scene where Batman has to escape from the police, and they're just constantly on his tail. He's flying, or he's grappling. A bunch of armed policemen show up, shoot him. It gets really intense because at one point they got him surrounded, and he ends up removing his like cowl and cape, attaching it to like a shoe horse. I guess that's what those construction bearers are called. And
Sawhorse.
just yep, sawhorse. There we go. I was close. Just a few letters off. But basically attaches his cowl and cape to one of those and has it like grapple away while the police are like shredding it to bits with their machine guns. Eventually, he ends up getting away, but just like barely. He's like struggling to climb over a fence, so the police are right behind him. And Andreas is just happens to be in the right place at the right time.
Shows you how intense that scene is, though. Batman literally was willing to expose his identity to survive. He took that risk.
Could at least wrapped his head with a plastic bag. After this, all the other mobsters have been killed. Only one left is the Joker, so it's time for Phantasm to go after him. Throughout the entire movie, it's heavily implied that Phantasm is Arthur, who's Andreas' father, because he's indebted to the mob, and literally Phantasm and him have the same voice actor. It's a manly voice. But we haven't seen him like in the modern days. We only saw him like flashbacks. As soon as Phantasm and confronts the Joker, and Joker's like using the theme park that they once had their date in as his like base. It's all run down now. Like Joker knows right away, like, "Hey, princess, how you doing?" And it turns out like, "Hey, Andrea is actually Phantasm."
Plot twist.
She's trying to get revenge because her dad owed a lot of money to the mob. The mob just kept going after them. She basically had to leave Bruce behind so her and her dad could survive. But the reason the Joker knows that Phantasm isn't like the dad is because the Joker killed her dad.
Gotta say, at this confrontation between Andrea and the Joker when they start fighting, that was my favorite scene. I'm just gonna say it right there.
Yeah, I love the fight scene.
It's also the funniest scene.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. It's so funny. Like at one time, she's like spraying like her little chemical smoke at the Joker. Like, here, I got some smoke of my own. And just sprays her with his like acid flower. Then it gets like all over her little can opener hand, and she's like ripping it off, and prevent her losing her arm. And then at one point, she's got him like on his back on this table.
Here it is.
Yeah, the table's got a bunch of like knives on it, and earlier in the scene we see the Joker's like having this robot slice up like a stick of bologna. So does Joker grab one of the knives to combat her? No, he grabs a fucking stick of bologna and starts whacking her with it.
Joker literally used his meat to beat Andrea in the face. The Joker slapped Andrea in the face with his meat.
But yeah, it's really silly stuff like that. Like Batman ends up showing up, and it's like, "Andrea, I love you. Just leave, leave, and never come back." And it kind of implies she is gonna do that. And then we get Batman versus the Joker, where you get this like Godzilla like scene where they're walking around in a tiny little city. You hear Batman just ow. It's like one of the tiny little remote control cars like hits his feet. Aside from something like that, you've got like these like razor blade helicopters coming in and attacking him, and the Joker's like hiding is like one of the skyscrapers in this building, and beats him with the skyscraper and tries impaling him with the point of the building. But after this fight, we Joker's like, "Hey, I've got this whole theme park rigged to blow, so hope you have fun. You got 5 minutes to escape." Then we get the infamous jetpack Joker scene. Which, kids, if you don't know, there was a jetpack Joker action figure.
I'm gonna get that one day. Mark my words.
Last week, we the three of us were talking about like all these action figures, and Ryan showed us all the animated series action figures, and apparently that was one of them.
I wish it had come with that log of bologna.
That's sold separately, Ryan. But yeah, you get the Joker tries getting away on a jetpack because the place is about to blow. Batman grabs on to it. They have like a flying fight all over the theme park until they end up crashing. And it's kind of like, hey, you aren't getting away, Joker. If we're gonna die, we're both gonna die. Andrea shows back up, grabs Joker. You get kind of the scene of, oh, like I'm taking this bastard down with me. Go. I love you, Bruce. Go, go, go. And Batman ends up escaping, and we're left with kind of a vague death of the Joker and Andrea.
Isn't that where Batman delivers the line, "What will vengeance bring"? Is that where he asks Andrea, "What will vengeance do," or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah, that line stung a little bit. Batman, you are vengeance.
You're the knight, you are vengeance. But we get kind of a like keyword here is kinda happy ending where Batman resumes being Batman. We find out Andrea got away, but she's doing kind of a self-imposed exile type thing. We don't know if the Joker died, but seeing as the show kept going on, Joker totally lived.
And then we never saw Daphne again. I mean Andrea.
Now, I've got to say, I did have a major problem with the ending. I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but like I said, Batman gets to keep his good name. Why? Last interaction Batman had with the police was that they were chasing him, trying to arrest him or kill him, and Batman like found like zero proof that it was this Phantasm character that was killing like all these mob bosses.
Good point. I didn't even notice it.
Oh, I did, but I've got an eye for plot holes.
Cody, the world's second greatest detective.
I'm the world's greatest plot holer, noticer. But yeah, exciting action movie, totally worth seeing. Jeremy, any final thoughts?
So, the very end of the movie, the fight scene, that is the moment I remembered. I have seen this entire movie. It was like an oh shit moment. As a kid, the movie was slow. It's slower in the beginning. Like they're going into the love interest and they're doing a lot of backstory. Well, that didn't have my attention as much until the Joker showed up. When the Joker showed up, that's when I remembered everything. But yes, I love this movie.
Ryan?
You skipped the best part of the movie when Bruce suits up as Batman for the first time, and Alfred looks at him and goes, "My God!" When what he's clearly really thinking is, "I've known this guy for 30 years, and he's going out in public in his underoos."
That was a great scene.
I do remember the. It's like I used to wipe your bottom as a kid.
Poor Alfred. He went through it in this movie. I mean, he walked in on them getting ready to, off-screen bang multiple times.
Yeah, Alfred got cucked. I don't. Maybe cucked ain't the right word, but
You get the idea. You get the idea from
Alfred isn't getting any.
poor Alfie.
Doesn't he get some in the series? That one Poison Ivy episode
Lord, I don't
where he
remember.
takes this lady to a resort the Poison Ivy's running or something.
I do not remember. That would have been so long ago.
Ryan, you have an incredible memory.
Thank you. I was a big fan of that show. Also a big fan when Alfred finally gets some.
Go, Alfie.
Doesn't happen often, but his hard work eventually pays off.
Yeah.
So, for my final thoughts, like I mentioned, excellent movie. Worth seeing. I love like the early Batman days in it. When I said earlier that it's for the most part good. The most part, I didn't actually say that, but that's Ryan's catchphrase, and I should have said it. The early life stuff when it comes to Batman, it kind of slows down the movie, as Jeremy kind of mentioned. So that's probably why I don't remember it. Also, I kind of remembered the plot of this movie a lot differently. I thought like Two Face was like Phantasm, where he was splitting off like another personality or something. Actually, I think that was an episode of the animated series. Now that I think about it,
Yeah, it was the judge.
there, yeah, okay. So I mixed that episode up with what was going on here. I do remember seeing Andrea in the can open with the can opener and the black tights. Don't cross circuit your memories, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Jeremy. I know we used this scale before, but Batman has a hard coded scale of good to bad. So, on a scale of The Dark Knight to Batman and Robin, where would you rank this?
Mm, 3/4 of the way to the Dark Knight.
Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, same as Jeremy.
75% of the way there.
Well, now I take that back. I put it closer to the Dark Knight. Maybe about 90%. 95. Final answer.
We can up our answers.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for staying tuned for another episode of Tairimo Boys podcast.
Wait.
What?
Cody, your scale. We need your scale.
I don't scale myself. I'm too
You've
high
got to
for
scale
that.
it.
Well, fine. If we're gonna do that, I'm gonna put it up there with Michael Keaton Batman, so around 80%.
Fair enough. Okay, you may continue.
All right. All right, Tom, tell everyone to ring that motherfucking bell.
Bring it.
Ring it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell us how much you like the movie, or want us to review the Heart of Ice movie, which we'll probably be reviewing that in the next few months. Stay tuned for more episodes of the Turbo Boys podcast.